What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy Duftonbond, and I am back with another video. And I think I might have just found the best deck for you guys right now. It requires some cards that not everyone has, like the Three Musketeers and potentially the Ice Wizard. But if you have these cards, I would highly recommend using this deck because it is so strong against all the best decks right now, and it's just one of those offense is the best defense kind of decks that I'm not used to, but I really like. So I'm going to talk about this deck a little. It really focuses on the Three Musketeers and uses the Baby Dragon and the Giant as tanky units. And then behind it, you put the Three Musketeers, the Ice Wizard, and Spear Goblins, and then just rage everything. And it is so good because of just the way that Rage and Three Musketeers works. It can destroy a tower in like a second or two. It's insane once they get onto the tower. And I've seen this kind of Three Musketeer deck. Some people are making videos of it. But they use like P.E.K.K.A. or Giant Skeleton. And in my opinion, the Giant is the best troop right now for this type of deck. One, because people who play Mortars can easily distract P.E.K.K.A.s or Giant Skeletons with small troops that will just, like, there's no way that you can actually get to the Mortar, and the Mortar will just wail away on your tower. But with the Giant, even if they put the Mortar up close and then put a cannon even further up, if you position the Giant right, you can always force it to attack the Mortar first, which is something that I really like. And then the Baby Dragon, I still feel is such a strong card. It's just so good at giving you positive elixir trades because of how tanky it is and how much splash damage it does. And then arrows are very important. Tons of people have princesses now, and no matter what, they're going to have a minion, horde, spear goblin, some troop that is worthwhile arrowing. And so if you don't have arrows or fireball, I think it's a huge mistake just because those decks don't seem to be able to really compete. So it is a high elixir cost deck relative. 4.3 is pretty high. And potentially you can get stuck with cards that like you can't defend with, like in case you have like Rage, Elixir Collector, Three Musketeers, Arrow or something in your hand, and he puts down a Hog Rider, then it might be hard to defend. But generally this deck has worked so well for me. I started at like 2,500 trophies, now I'm almost at 2,900. And it's ridiculously strong. So I'm going to hop into some replays and show you just why this deck is so amazing. Okay, so I'm hopping into this first replay here. I'm against a guy named Zero. And this replay is really just to show how strong this deck is. So I gotta start off with the Elixir Collector. That's really what you want always. If not, just like put a Ice Wizard or Baby Dragon and just start a slow push and see what they play the Elixir on. But I see that he played this Baby Dragon, and so what I do is I use the Giant in order to get the Baby Dragon's attention. And since the Giant just has so much hit points and the Baby Dragon can't use its splash damage, it barely does anything to my Giant and takes it out. But that Wizard there, Ice Wizard, is really glitching out hard. I was confused why that happened. But nevertheless, we're getting the push on, and we're just trying to defend his little counter push. And once this all like blows over, we'll still have 2 Elixir Collectors down, and he'll have like nothing in terms of like the push, so will still be really an advantage for Elixir, which is what you want. So I'm happy to let him use those 2 Elixirs to get a bit of damage onto my tower, just because that way I start to build an even bigger Elixir push when I go against his tower. So again, the Baby Dragon focuses on my Giant, and I easily take it out, and now I want to get the Three Musketeers down, and this is where they do work. So he plays that Valkyrie way too early before like the Three Musketeers even get onto his side, And the Valkyrie is a great counter, but you have to use it right on top of the Three Musketeers. And even though the rage just wears out, it doesn't matter. Like once those Musketeers are on the tower, it's done. And that's what I love so much about this deck. So I set up another Elixir Pump, and I want to do another push on the right side. I talked about how this deck, oh, that was a mistake. I should have played it on the right side, but I talked about how the best defense for this deck is offense, and that's very apparent. It's like you need to always be pushing, because if you let them build up too big of a push, you don't really have any big spells or anything to destroy it. But I love the Three Musketeer and Rage spell on defense. It works so well. And again, that was a huge mistake on his part, playing those Barbarians so far back, just because there was no way that they were going to get to my Three Musketeers before it takes it out. And even still, like with the Baby Dragon tanking, even though those two last Musketeers have no HP, it doesn't matter because they still do so much damage, which is what I love. And so now I have a ton of Musketeers going into the win. There's 6 seconds left. It doesn't matter. They do so much damage and they annihilate his King Tower. So that was an awesome replay. And now I'm going to show you a replay against a Mortar user and just how strong this deck is against those types of players. So give me a sec. Okay, so we're hopping into this replay and it's against a guy using a Mortar. And the Mortar is quite strong against this deck if it's used correctly, just because the Mortar destroys Three Musketeers if it can target them. And so you have to be very careful about what you use. But he wastes a lot of elixir there putting down his Musketeer, and that meant that my pump really got its... Like, it didn't cost me as much because he wasted that elixir right off the start. So now he's starting with a pretty big push. I throw out those arrows there just to take out his princess, and his Musketeer actually like focuses on my Ice Wizard, and now I can do a kind of counter push. But he has the Inferno Tower as well as Rocket and Mortar, so all those things are pretty good against countering my deck. But it doesn't really matter, just because there's always ways, there's always times where they're going to make a mistake, and then you can capitalize so quickly with this deck. It only takes one push to win the game, which is what I like so much about it. So I'm going to play another Elixir Collector. Unfortunately, mine had not run out yet, and I should have played it in the middle there so that the Mortar would have focused it. But since I don't have my Giant up, I had a hard time being able to get to his Mortar. So I said I'd just tank up the shots, and then once my Barbarian, once the Barbarians killed my Ice Wizard, I took that opportunity to make them follow my Giant instead of going on my tower, and then just let my tower hit them. So it worked out really well, and then he plays that princess, so I was able to arrow all three of those troops and kind of reset. But right now I'm down about 1,000 hit points, and I know I need to start making plays. So he uses the Rocket on the Elixir Collector. I'd say that that's a pretty good trade, just because if he kept letting me build up Elixir Collectors, there'd be no way he could win. But it's still not ideal for him because it's a 6 elixir card for a 5 elixir like pump. And so I try this push, I use the Rage and I use the 3 Musketeers, but he had enough elixir to shut down the push. And I was like, oh no, like this isn't like going well at all. But this is where it shows like the Giant just goes so ham when it comes to taking out those mortars. It just goes straight for it, which is what I love so much about the Giant. And then the Baby Dragon behind just provides some additional damage. So now I want to get another slow push going. I throw out the arrows to take out the princess just because for me it's always worth to do that. And now I'm going to do a slow push with the Baby Dragon. And he decides to rocket my tower, but it misses my Baby Dragon. And now I know like this is the time to push. So he uses the defensive mortar, and I know I have to make sure that it targets on the Giant and not on my 3 Musketeers. But by the time I've raged up and they get to the tower, it doesn't matter. It's game over. So that was a very offensive rocket that he used, and he really didn't have any elixir to to waste because I already had an 8 elixir push going, or a 9 I guess, with the giant and the baby dragon. And then he throws out that rocket, which puts him down 6 elixir, and then I can just take the game from there. So I'll hop into third replay, and then maybe we can do a live attack. Okay, so this replay is against a spawner deck of sorts, and while it may not be like a perfect counter to the spawner deck, it kind of shows just like the way that you should be like playing around this type of deck, because they can get annoying, and it's annoying to have to bring a bomb tower or something else just to defend it, like against a spawner deck in case for some reason they play it. So I wanted to show just like the way that you should play against spawner decks, and it really goes for any type of deck that you're playing, but especially works for the deck that I'm playing as well. And something to note is that he has a fireball, which is known as like the ultimate counter to the Three Musketeers. But like you'll see that like it still isn't perfect, and it like allows me to get the win, which I really like. So we use the Three Musketeers defensively, and he fireballs it and just destroys my push and makes me waste so much elixir, and so that was really bad. But I only took a bit of damage, and I was able to contain like the damage that it was going to do to my tower. But now I don't have any arrows up, and I have to use the Spear Goblin and Ice Wizard to kind of defend against his minion horde and just kind of regroup, because that's something that spawner decks do really well, is they force you to play really reactively and then just build up so many spawners that you never get to be on the offense. So being given the chance to play that giant on that other side meant that now I can finally go on the offense, which is what I wanted to do. But unfortunately I didn't get my Three Musketeers up in time, and by the time I played it, my giant was already dead, and he had a fireball ready. So it was like not like great that he had the fireball plus the zap to fully take out a push that I had. But it was something that I had to play around, and I just had to make sure that he used his fireball before I played those Three Musketeers. And so I actually decided to rage up this baby dragon giant push, since I saw that he just played that barbarian hut, and that there was like no real way that he was going to have enough elixir to defend properly. And that's the one thing that makes spawner decks pretty easy to deal with, is the fact that it costs so much to play a spawner. But I saw there that he just uses fireball, and his deck is very elixir heavy, so I know I want to get my Three Musketeers down before he gets the chance to rotate back to his fireball. And I forced him to play the barbarian hut on my side, on the side that I'm pushing, which is not what you want to do, and shows just how much like of an advantage I'm at, because I can dictate what he does. But by the time that giant gets to his tower, it's too little too late, and it just takes it out instantly. So that it shows just, even if the Three Musketeers are countered by those fireballs, it doesn't mean that that's the only way that you can get to the tower, and all the other troops do work and are rageable and do tons of damage if they can get to the tower, which is why I like the deck so much. Like, you put a giant and a baby dragon behind it, and that's a force to be reckoned with in itself. So I'm going to hop into live battle and see how it goes. Hopefully we can get to like 2,900 trophies. Okay, so we're hopping into this live battle here. We're against Julian, who's a level 9 as well. And unfortunately we don't start off with any of the right cards. But he actually plays a P.E.K.K.A. right off the bat. So I'm going to play my giant, and then I'm going to wait for my Three Musketeers to come up, and I'm going to use that as my way of defending this push. Oh shoot, that was really bad, considering the fact that his baby dragon was able to get onto my Three Musketeers. I was really hoping that it would focus on the other troops, but they're all still alive. And now is our time to push. So we're gonna rage this entire push up, and that should take out his tower in itself. So that just shows how strong this Three Musketeer deck is. Like, it just does so much damage, and already we got his King Tower down to 1700 hit points, which is pretty amazing. So we're gonna wait up. We're gonna save up till 10 elixir, and then we are going to defend this push that he's starting to build on the one side. So we want to wait until his wizard gets like focuses on our troops. Then we're gonna play those spear goblins to the side and just like defend the troop by using the giant just to lure the others. And it just shows how strong the giant is because of how tanky it is as a troop. And then we're actually going to play the baby dragon up here and just see if we can get the 3 crown like this. So now if we rage up all these troops, I feel like he's almost given up because there's nothing that he can really do. But he still has a bit of health left on his tower. And let's see if we can get the 3 crown for you guys in a live battle. Just because, why not? It's an amazing deck, and it deserves an amazing 3 crown. So we're using that 3 Musketeers, and both of his baby dragons are focused on my we're focused on my giant, but now they've kind of moved over and they focused on my 3 Musketeers. But we're gonna throw down this giant and then hopefully get that 3 Musketeers out as quickly as possible. He has so much AoE though. He has the witch, baby dragon, wizard, bomber, everything, which is, I've never seen a deck quite like that before. But unfortunately we couldn't get the 3 crown, but it just shows how strong that deck is. It just instantly annihilated his tower, and then the second push, I didn't even have the 3 Musketeers down, but it did so much damage. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed that live attack, and I will see you in the next one. Hopefully it'll be a legendary arena video, but we'll see. I don't want to jinx it. Anyways, it's been your boy Duftonbond, and I'm out. See ya.